Welcome to So Much Crime, So Little Time, Summer Shorts. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Dee, and in this episode we'll introduce you to an episode of Criminal called Tabatha that came out on May 2nd, 2025.
Ooh, Criminal. I've heard a lot about Criminal. That's good.
I know.
We haven't listened to this episode yet, so this episode here, no spoilers are even possible.
Here we just introduce the story, guess what it's about, and take a quick trip in the time machine.
And we'll throw a link to this episode of Criminal in our show notes.
In our next episode, we'll discuss the podcast, but right now, let's put on some sun cream, grab a cold drink, and preview this crime.
All right, Dee, tell us a little bit about Criminal.
This episode came out May 2nd, 2025. The crime itself took place in Atlanta, Georgia in the summer of 1983.
All right, Dee, what do we know about this going in? Why'd you pick this?
I picked this because I'd heard a lot about Criminal. I have listened to a few episodes years ago, but it's been so long since I've listened. So I wanted to choose one of their episodes. And this one just looked interesting. Even the name felt interesting. The image felt interesting, which the image is what looks like it's just a black square with what looks like a picture of a pregnancy stick.
Oh.
Do you see it?
Okay. Yeah.
Like a line drawing of a pregnancy stick. So that just kind of stuck out to me, and I thought like, this looks interesting. What also kind of stuck out to me is the description doesn't really say much about the crime itself. So I'm going to give you a little snippet of it.
Okay.
If you're ready.
Yeah.
So when Tabatha Trammell was 50 years old, she started studying to become a doula, who's a support person for pregnant women, as you know.
It's from the Greek, doula, yeah.
Yeah.
For helper.
So today...
Means helper in Greek.
Okay, cool. Today, most of her clients are incarcerated. She says she always tells them her own story when she meets them. And then we've got quotes. I went down the same road, but I'm here today, and I'm going to tell you how to navigate this prison system.
All right. Yeah, I'm in.
I know, right?
Did you know that my wife used to be a doula?
I mean, I don't know. Do I know? You have like 17,000 degrees and lots of English degrees and have ran a gazillion marathons.
This is nothing
you keep
to do
a lot
with me.
of you keep a lot of cards close to your chest.
This is all about her. She was a labor doula and then she was a postpartum doula. And I vicariously know a lot about doulas.
Maybe I'm going to switch my choice. Should I switch it? No, it is one of the reasons why I chose it as well, because there was another, we were talking about doing a different podcast about a doula a while back and we chose not to. I think we were waiting for something to play out there. So I just thought that this was a kind of a bit of a twofer. Like there was a lot in this that I thought would be interesting.
Love it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So
choice.
I'm really excited to listen.
Yeah, me too. I think this sounds... Criminal is a show I've heard about, but I've never listened to it. So I'm looking forward... I don't think I've ever listened to it. I'm looking forward to listening to this. And doula story. Sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Be great. All right, Jeff. So as I said, this was in Atlanta, Georgia in the summer of 1983. So let's get in the zone. Let's get prepped. Let's get our vibes right. Let's discuss a little bit about that time and place. Let's hop in the time machine and see where we go. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah, let's go back to the summer of 1983. I was very small. You were not born.
Not thought of yet.
I have a song. This song, I want to see if you can get it off my fun facts about the song before I get the lyrics. Because the lyrics are, you know this song. Guarantee it.
Okay.
100% guarantee it. You know this song. So let's see if you can get it before I even get to the lyrics. All right, you ready? This single was the biggest U.S. and Canadian hit of 1983. It topped the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart for 8 weeks, and it is this band's only #1 hit on that chart. It also hit #1 in Ireland, for sure. This was #1 around the world. In May of 2019, it was recognized by BMI as the most played song in radio history.
In what year did you say that?
Well, so that
Nine-
was noted in 2019. So by 2019, it was recognized as the most played song in radio history. I've got 2 more facts for you. This song appeared on the soundtracks of the 1999 Julia Roberts movie Runaway Bride, the 1983 movie Risky Business, the movie Speed 2 Cruise Control, The Replacements, 50 First Dates, Young at Heart, What Just Happened, and Heartbeats. Lots of movies. It's also been in, I think, trailers for a lot of movies. And one more fact. The person who wrote this song said, and I quote, "The song has the standard structure of a pop ballad, but there's no harmonic development after the middle 8, no release of emotions or change of point of view of the protagonist. He is trapped in his circular obsession." Of course, I wasn't aware of any of this. I thought I was just writing a hit song. And indeed, it became one of the songs that defined the 80s. And by accident, the perfect soundtrack for Reagan's Star Wars fantasy of control and seduction. I feel like these are hard clues.
I have one guess, but I'm trying to...
Do you want to play 20 questions?
I've no real concept of time.
Sure.
I don't know if we've discussed this before. Do you know this about me?
Time is hard.
Like,
Yeah.
Paul says this to me all the time. He's like, you just have no, like, if we're planning to go out, we have to like work backwards. Like I'm a child, basically, to be like, okay. He's like, no, you've overplanned. There's no way we're going to get to B if like we have to do this at X time, like whatever.
I will say this song
If we're at A at X time.
This song is timeless.
Was that a joke about the name of the song?
No. It was a sincere comment.
Okay. So I have an idea and I'm going to say it.
Okay.
But I think it's wrong given what you've just said.
Okay.
Is it Sting? Every breath you take.
It is. It is.
Is
Sting.
it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically it's the Police, but Sting wrote it. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
That was you did a great job with that. I didn't think that. What gave it away? Like where was the clue that made you guess that?
It was in my head, but I thought when you said the police state and also there was something about, you'd have to read the clues again for me to remember.
I didn't actually say police state.
No, well, the Reagan
Star Wars fantasy of control and seduction.
Yeah, and then there was the one before that. What was the one before that?
Trapped in a circular obsession. Thought it was just a hit song, and it became one of the songs that defined the 80s, and by accident, the perfect soundtrack for Reagan's Star Wars fantasy of control and seduction.
Yeah, I think it was the control thing.
Yeah. This is a dark song. This is always, like, I feel like the joke is
so
that
dark.
people play this at like weddings, but like really this is a song kind of like a stalker song.
Absolutely. But not kind of like a stalker.
Yeah.
Every breath you take, be watching you. So weird. Yeah. Don't do that.
All right. Can I give you a TripAdvisor review?
Yeah, I'd love it. Go for it.
All right. So we are in Atlanta.
Georgia. I've never been to Atlanta. How many marathons have you run there?
Well, one, but it wasn't in Atlanta. I ran the Chickamauga Marathon, which I actually mentioned before in an episode a long time ago. It was on a Civil War battlefield.
Yes.
Chickamauga.
I'm trying to remember which episode this was.
Noble. That was.
I was just going to say that. I was afraid I got my geography wrong, but I got it right.
I said it.
No, I said it in my head.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
Okay, but calm down. You were supposed to know this shit because you were there, and also you're from here. I'm so excited that I internally got some fucking geography about this country right. Yes.
I will say Atlanta, wonderful city, also known as Hotlanta. It's fucking hot there. I've been there in the summer. I've been there in August, and oh my god, never again. It's like the humidity is 120%.
At one point, somebody, not naming names, was trying to convince me it might be a cool place to live. Not cool physically.
Not cool. No. All right. So I went to TripAdvisor, future sponsor of this show, and I looked for the #1 rated restaurant. And as I feel like sometimes happens, this is a hotel affiliated restaurant. It's called Nikolai's Roof. The description is that it is perched atop the Hilton Atlanta with the 30th floor panoramic city views, served an award-winning AAA 4-diamond experience for nearly 50 years, unparalleled cuisine. It goes on and on. Anyway, apparently it's a fancy restaurant on the top of a hotel.
Yeah, okay.
Let me ask you this question before I get to this review. This is an important personal question for you about how you treat fancy restaurants. All right. Number 1 rated restaurant in Atlanta. It's on the top floor of a fancy hotel. Would you take your children there?
Have you met my kids?
I have met your kids, yes.
They're darlings. No.
Why?
Honestly, because honestly, because I wouldn't waste my money. They wouldn't enjoy the expensive fries, chips they'd get there because that's what they would probably eat. I wouldn't enjoy relaxing and if I'm going to a fancy restaurant, I want to absorb the ambience and have the starter, have the dessert, not rush through things, not be afraid that someone's going to kick off. I also don't want a screen at my table if I'm at a fancy restaurant. So it's nothing honestly to do with anyone else around me. I don't want it for me.
You're going to love this.
Okay.
Great answer. Great answer. That was the right answer. So this restaurant, Nikolai's Roof, on TripAdvisor, 647 reviews, average rating of 4.6. There are 486 perfect, excellent reviews. There are 11 one-star reviews, and I found one of them to share with you. This is from December of 2014 by someone named McBrat. McBrat, yeah.
McBrat. Like
McBrat.
McFillet.
Yes.
Filet-O-fish.
Yes. 95 contributions from McBrat. And this
Oh God.
one-star review is titled, Extremely Slow Service. Do not bring kids even if staying at the Hilton. All right, here it goes. The night started badly and just went downhill. Since we were staying at the hotel, we took our 3 girls, ages 7, 7, and 9.
Okay.
This is parenthetical. Quiet with iPads. Yeah. And then outside of the parentheses, bad move. First, snooty looks from the maitre d'. Think Ferris Bueller. And servers. However, we weren't daunted as we have taken the girls to other accommodating higher-end restaurants and they are now veterans at good behavior. Incidentally, spelled behavior with a U. There were no kids
the
options
right
on the
way,
menu.
Jeff.
Well,
The right way.
A way. There were no kids options on the menu. In hindsight, unsurprisingly, you're at this fancy restaurant on the top of a hotel. Although they said they could get us something from the restaurant downstairs, although they then said they didn't know what their menu was and would have to ring them. This sounded like a long process, so to get our kids fed ASAP, we ordered the linguine and just asked for a simple cheese sauce. I specifically asked for enough for the 3 girls. I also ordered lamb without any cranberry sauce, asking instead for ordinary demi-glaze. Oh, what an inconvenience. My husband then waited more than 30 minutes for his pre-dinner beverage to be served. Then,
Oh, that would annoy me. No. You got me there. It does my nut in. If you're going to offer me a drink before dinner, don't bring it to me 30 minutes later. I've had that experience before. I don't know if it's an American thing, but that's bad. That's bad form.
Sure, that's fair. Okay.
Not to be
then,
the Irish one harping on about the alcohol, but that really does irk me.
Bring my Guinness right now.
Right now.
Then we waited an hour for the food on a Wednesday night when they were not busy. Thank goodness for iPads and well-trained kids.
Oh God, well trained.
When the food finally came, there was only enough pasta for 2 kids, with the server then arguing with me about having ordered enough for 3 and saying they'd recommended double. So it was my fault, whereas I made myself perfectly clear that what we just needed to get was enough for the 3 kids. The server only stopped arguing with me when I specifically asked her to just please stop arguing with me. Clearly, they weren't used to the inconvenience of catering for families. The pasta was so bad, the kids only picked at it. My lamb...
So why'd you need more? Why'd you need more if they're only picking at it?
It's so
You
bad.
either want more or you don't want more.
And the portions are so small. My lamb came out with a drip of demi-glace on the veg, not the meat, and only when I was on the last chop was I asked if everything was okay and more demi-glace was brought out. While this place may get good reviews from others, do not go here if you have a family.
Hold on. You're on the last chop and they're like, is it okay? And you're like, no, I want more demi-glace. And they bring it to you. How about you use some frickin' initiative, pause gobbling it, turn, look for someone and say, hey, is it okay if I get some more demi-glaze? It doesn't seem to be that big of an idea, like an issue. Seriously.
Yeah, that's fair. We're almost at the end here.
Demi-glaze.
Demi-glaze is brought out. Do not go here if you have a family or if you want efficient, time-conscious service. Even if you're staying at the Hilton, even if you had room service the night before and would like a nice night, quote, out, just don't. To top it all off, the server magnanimously said she'd, quote, taken the last round of drinks off the check, whereas in fact, only one of the 2 drinks in that round was deducted. Ugh. Back to the room where we ordered from our friends at in-room dining, which was much better and much faster service for the second night in a row. They had to do room service for the second night in a row. It's tragic, isn't it? McBrat.
McBrat, yeah.
McBrat, yeah. Yeah.
McBrat indeed. McBrat like seems to really suit that. You are a McBrat.
Do you think McBrat is
I feel like if you were a hamburger, you would be a McBrat.
All right, that is what I got for
joke. I love that. Love that. Alrighty. Thank you for jumping on that journey with me. You know the National Lampoon's the European one. What was the European one called? Was there
called European Vacation? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like really clever titling, like SEO optimized, obviously. I feel like nowadays, like it wouldn't have been like in the 80s when that movie came out, but nowadays, if you were a teenager, like you were listening to a podcast in a car and your dad was, going around a really big roundabout, like again, do you remember that episode? Like in Big Paris, Ben. He's just going around Parliament. And around, he just can't get out.
Big Ben.
I think,
Parliament. Big
I
Ben.
think what you might do instead of like getting frustrated is you might go to patreon.com/so-much-crime-so-little-time, because there, instead of getting frustrated with your dad and fighting with your sister or your siblings, you might actually get longer time machines, early release episodes, bonus content, outtakes, and you'd also get a warm fuzzy feeling for supporting the show. That's patreon.com/so-much-crime-so-little-time. Keeping families from arguing all throughout the summer. That's patreon.com/so-much-crime-so-little-time.
Patreon. Big Ben. Patreon.
And don't forget to leave a comment, rate us, and tell your mates. We love to hear from people. All right, Jeff, what's next?
Next time, we will have listened to this episode called Tabatha of Criminal.
We'll discuss the crime, we'll discuss the show, and our feelings, our vibes. Would we listen to more Criminal? Do we want to hear more about Tabatha?
That's in the next So Much Crime.
So Little Time. So Much Crime, So Little Time is a production of MimeGov Media. The executive producer is Paxton Calariso. Our associate producer is Blythe Ty. Theme music was composed by Vyacheslav Starostin. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to this show in your podcast app. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and a review. Even better, tell your friends. To join the discussion, look for us on social media. Check out the show notes for all the links. Thanks for listening.